come back to that at some point. But we can just do a quick follow-up on the other subject from yesterday, the issue of the donations to the Clinton Foundation. We now know that there were some $2 million in donations that came essentially from Uranium One to the Clinton Foundation that were not disclosed at the time. Can you acknowledge that at least that did not meet up to that were expected based on the memorandum of understanding between Hillary Clinton and the president?
Again, in terms of compliance with the memorandum of understanding, I'd refer you to the State Department or to Secretary Clinton's team, who I'm sure would be happy to talk to you about this.
But you made it clear at the time that the donations were going to be made public. I mean, this was not some promise that Hillary Clinton made off to the side. This was an agreement that she had with the White House, with the president. So I'm just saying, we now know $2 million in donations from, essentially from Uranium One, while this transaction, even aside from the approval of their transaction, the fact that you had such a large group of donations coming in that were not disclosed, that doesn't concern the White House at all? That lived up to the standards that were set by the president. Forget Hillary Clinton, but by the president.
I think what is clear is, and this is noted in the New York Times story today, is that there is no proof whatsoever, no evidence to indicate that donations had any impact on this particular policy decision.
I'm asking about the fact that donations weren't publicly disclosed.
But I think the point is that I've been in a position where there have been other, to put it mildly, conservative authors that have written books based on what they purport to be serious allegations against the President of the United States. And I'm often in the position of responding to those incidents and trying to defend the President from accusations that are not rooted or accompanied by any evidence. My point is that right now that's what's happening to Secretary Clinton, and there is a spokesperson that Secretary Clinton has hired that can answer these questions.
Okay, but I'm not asking you whether or not Secretary Clinton sold favors from the State Department. I'm just asking you about whether or not these donations should have been disclosed.
Right.
I'm asking you about disclosure.
And
I'm not suggesting that.
Right. And that is something that Secretary Clinton's team can talk to you about. Is how they handled this particular incident.
And then I asked you yesterday. You said you were going to go back and check on this question of the approval process and whether or not there were any other objections that have been raised to approving this transaction that again allowed a Russian company to go a long way towards cornering the market for uranium in the United States. Were there any objections raised anywhere up and down the line to this transaction?
I do have some more information on this. So this is what you're referring to is the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States. So this is a committee that is chaired by the Secretary of the Treasury to evaluate transactions involving foreign governments that may have an impact on U.S. national security. This is a process that is kept confidential frankly, to protect the parties who are involved in the transactions, right? That there's nobody who should be unfairly tarnished because of a public discussion about the evaluation of their proposed financial transaction. But there is one thing I can tell you, which is that the process that is conducted by CFIUS is one that's the acronym for the I swore to myself I was not going to come out here and say CFIUS, so I've just broken my rule. But this committee that's been established to evaluate these transactions operates based on consensus. So I think what that tells you is that if other agencies had concerns about the transaction moving forward, they would be able to raise that in the context of this interagency committee and ensure that it was properly considered. Now, I guess the point is this, is that the State Department representative to this committee could not operate independently and ram the approval process through.
Everybody has to agree with it. Okay, then there's one last thing on this. Given that this was approved back before the Russians invaded Ukraine, before a whole series of disagreements we've had with the Russians, in hindsight, was it a mistake to approve this transaction? Would this transaction be approved today, given what's happened with the Russian sense?
The other thing that I came to learn about the process by this committee is that there are established criteria by which they review every transaction. I'm not privy to what that criteria is, so I'm frankly not in a position to render a judgment about whether or not the outcome of this particular committee's decision would be different based on the current circumstances. So it's hard for me to render judgment on that.
Thanks, Josh.
Okay. Julie?
Back to the accidental killing.